All right, here we are. It's another week and another weekly live stream on the C47's channel. Pat is here, and that is shocking. He has a Wednesday for a retired person. The fact that you are having a Wednesday free for the first time in months is it says a lot. Let me make sure that this phone is off so I don't get annoying pies ready dings and all of that kind of stuff. Thaddeus, good to see you, and thank you for being here on the live stream. So, lots of things going on here in the barn and with stuff. I've got a production coming up next week. It's sort of an ongoing production, but another 2 to 3 days of interviews and getting ready for that. Hey, David, good to have you here. And just all around, nice to be back here after being away for about 2.5 weeks. I've been back now for about a week and a half, I guess, and being able to just spend time trying stuff. Chris, what's up? Party people. I feel like we're on the Wandering DP podcast here. And Britt, what's happening? Good to have you here. Stay cool down there in Arizona. My daughter goes to school down there, and it's a scorcher at this time of year. It's nasty, but I think, are you in monsoon season or it's showing up soon? I know we're sort of in that area, that time period, but there you go. But yeah, lots of stuff going on here. Love to hear what you've been up to. And as always, with the weekly live stream, this is a chance for people to ask questions and start conversations about pre-production, production, producing, that kind of stuff. Easiest way to do that for me in the chat is if you looks like everybody here has been here before, but if you haven't, welcome. Please chime in into the comments and stuff, but just put an at the C47 before the topic you'd like to discuss. It doesn't have to be a direct question. It can just sort of be a just, get the stuff going. We are in the in between. This heat is awful. Yes, it's nasty down there. All right. So lots of things going on here. I've been doing too much information, Brandon. Lots of things going on here in the barn. I've been doing some testing with nets, and I've got a little bit of a backlog of some equipment that I'd like to dig into some more. When I was doing those tests with nets, I realized that maybe in the nearest future I should do some stuff on light meters and things like that. That might be something people are interested in. Meters are not something that I'm using day in and day out in production at this point, but where they really come in handy is in situations where you're trying to light for ratios and you want to do that consistently. So let's say, for instance, you have your protagonist, and in every scene you're shooting that person with a certain ratio. So maybe it's a 4-to-1 or a 2-to-1 or whatever, and there's a certain number of stops difference between one side of the face and the other, and that's just something you do consistently. Or you are lighting with a particular stop for your talent, and then you want to make sure that in interior locations that you're consistently lighting the background with a difference of a stop or two. Well, that's where light meters can really come in handy. And you have a dome usually, which is 3-dimensional, which is capturing light from 180-degree sort of dome. And then usually you can retract that dome. And then this is great if you wanted to take readings, if you were doing something like a green screen and you wanted to light it evenly, then you wouldn't really be trying to grab that additional light. It would be just straight light and so on and so forth. Yeah. So maybe I'll do some more on that. I think it's kind of it's a big small subject or a small big subject, because in order to create good educational content in and around it, that can sometimes be tricky. Let me make sure that I I didn't check. Normally I do. I just want to make sure that my system settings are correct and you're getting the sound from the correct microphone. Yeah, it looks like it is all happening the way it's supposed to, as far as I can tell. Here, I'll do a scratch test here. Tell me if you can hear this. It'll be a little bit of a delay. Let me know if you heard that, because then I know it's the right mic. Based on what I have here, I believe it is. And one of the things, just to sort of talk it out here, maybe I'll do an episode on this at a certain point, is the way I have things set up right now. Hey, Sully, is at the moment, Britt, was that a yes to Brandon's comment was too much information? Oh, it was yes to the mic scratch. I'm tracking now. Okay, so um, usually I run into the ATEM, but the ATEM is only 1080. And one of the things that I've been doing in the background occasionally is when I want to do an episode where, I want to kind of just record and just go right into a timeline and not have to pull a card, is I've gone back to using my little Camlink 4K USB adapter. And that's just for single camera going into my computer. And the nice thing about that is I can push 4K into Ecamm Live, and then that can get distributed to other things or be recorded in whatever, all that kind of stuff. That's funny, Bray. So it's not super reliable. Sometimes I find that I have to turn the camera on and off or unplug it from the dock. But it is one way of just making sure that I'm getting actual 4K into my system. And there are times where that's advantageous. There's been times where I've done things and set up. I believe it was for the original challenge that we did. That might have been in June, I think, maybe May. And what I did is I set up all of the different images that people had created, and I sort of created what I would do for a live stream, and then I just basically switched to those different scenes in Ecamm, and I was recording in Ecamm. And then the nice thing was that when I was done, I just took that MP4 file, dumped it into Final Cut, and then essentially the episode was done. So there wasn't a lot to do. Yeah, so there you go. Let's get some questions going. We do have this is going to be a little different today. At a certain point, I'm going to say probably at about the halfway point, we're going to do a movie trivia thing. I think I have an idea of how I'm going to do it so that it minimizes the chance of people, David. No, I'm just kidding. People cheating. And I know you're not going to, David, but I'm only calling you out because you said you promised you wouldn't when I mentioned this last week. So I would say that's the sign of a guilty one, but it's not. So we're gonna do a little movie trivia thing, and the nice thing about it is it's going to include prizes. Now, the July contest/challenge that's sponsored by B&H. Unfortunately, again, for U.S. residents only. I wish it was international. Those prizes have been sent. The winners and the prizes that are associated with the winners for third, second, and third prize. Third, second, and first prize. What am I saying here? Have been sent to B&H. I believe everything is shipped out as of this week or by the end of this week, so you should be getting your various prizes for that. But today on the live stream, we're going to do something different for the month of August, which is it's going to be live movie trivia. You're going to have to type fast, not into Google or to search for the answer to the trivia question, but type your answer, because the first right answer will get that prize. And right now I have, let me just see, boom, boom, boom. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total questions that I can ask that are related to filmmaking, movies, that kind of stuff. And I have 4 prizes. So I don't know if I'm going to ask all of the questions, but maybe if somebody's stumped and there's no right answer, then I'll ask a different question. I have more questions than there are prizes, but I have 4 prizes that I have set up that can be won for this one. And then you'll have to just send your name, address, blah, blah, blah to challenge at the c47.com. Channel's got to grow. You know, I can't keep having the same people winning every single month. I mean, it's not that that's the end of the world, but in an ideal situation, um, we've got new people coming in, contributing, so on and so forth. And I still need to figure out the September challenge. Speaking of challenges, next week at this same time, 3 p.m. Pacific, will be the monthly startup again of the Camera and Flask live stream with myself, Ben Barden, and Caleb Pike, and we've kind of floated the idea of a challenge for that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. So there you go. Brandon's fine with it. Jem's shopping channel. I guess it's less of a shopping channel. It's a challenge contest channel. Though today I just actually shot an episode where my landing page now for various categories of equipment has been created on B&H's website. So that's tomorrow's episode. There'll be a link to it. Obviously, if you purchase anything from those links, then it's like pennies on the dollar that I'll get, but it still helps the channel. Britt is asking, oh, good question. Can I ask what mic you are using? Your sound is so clean, and what program you're using to run this live. Great. Okay, so Harrison, what's happening? Good to have you. So the mic, it matters, but it probably in this type of environment is not as critical, but it's a Rode NTG5 that I have running into the Sound Devices Mix Pre 6.2. There's a little bit of noise assist in there just to make sure that if there's some AC running or a lawnmower goes by, whatever, that it minimizes how much sound bleed there is for the episode. So it keeps it very clean. The Mix Pre is not a mixer in the traditional sense. You're not going in and dialing in and out certain frequencies. There is low cut filters, which basically cuts lower frequencies. Sometimes we call that a high pass filter. High pass, low cut, same thing. Low pass, um, yeah, right. High pass, low cut, low pass, high cut. Did I say that? Yeah. So you get the idea. But we're basically letting the higher frequencies, which are the ones that we can hear, go through when we're using a low cut filter. But then you can add a little, basically a roll off of a certain frequency and below to make sure things like lower frequencies aren't being picked up, which can be advantageous. But it's not like a traditional, like larger mixer recorder where you're dialing in live, sort of like EQing the audio that's coming in. But it works very well for this, and it's a very dead space. So one of the things that I did when I built out this space was we put in very good insulation. Then we put up this stuff called Flame Spread, which is black behind me. It was originally white. It's white everywhere else. And it's not a solid material. It's, it comes in rolls and it's not pretty. But when I heard how dead the space was, I actually opted against putting drywall up. So it's a really quiet space. You had a second question, and I'm going to go back, and I saw your question too, Sully. And then the program I'm using to run this live is called Ecamm Live, and it's only a Mac solution. It's ECAMM, Ecamm Live, and to date, it's the best live streaming solution that I've found, at least that's Mac based. I have used things like OBS in the past, and in theory, OBS is a little bit more flexible. You can do more with it. You can make it do more in theory, but the developers over at Ecamm do such a good job, and it tends to be, and knock on wood, nothing's going to happen. The most reliable live streaming solution I've ever used. What's also cool about Ecamm Live is that you can use it to stream. You can also use it to directly just record or do both at the same time. Um, and when you tie it into your live streaming platforms, I'm really only tapped into YouTube for this particular series or live stream, but I could, multi-publish to other places. Um, Once you're connected, I don't have to have a separate window open in YouTube on YouTube to show me your comments and reactions. I can basically go live. I can end the live show directly in Ecamm. I can read your comments and reactions directly in Ecamm. So I'm not dealing with another connection to my YouTube channel and stuff like that. It keeps it very, very clean, and I'm quite happy about that. Yeah. So hopefully that makes sense, David. Uh, okay. So here's the other question. Where is it? Sully asks, have you had much opportunity to use sliders? I've used a lot of sliders in the past, and I occasionally continue to use sliders. One of my favorites, I like the little Axoon sliders, and they kind of have this mechanical analog parallax feature, which works quite well. And then it has essentially a motor and a system so that you can let it travel left to right, right to left. Um, the original Shark Nano slider from iFootage is one that I really liked because it was so simple and it had a built-in pan head. It still does. Um, at NAB, they showed a new version of that, which in theory is coming out sometime this year. And it's supposed to handle the big issue that I had with the original Shark Nano slider, which was at certain focal lengths and certain setups, you would get micro jitters with your footage. So it wasn't completely smooth. So I hope they work that out because it's so easy to use. You basically turn it on, you don't even need an app. You basically take your camera and you point it at something, and then you manually move it and you point it at something else. You're setting your 2 points, and then that's it. And then you set your speed. So it's pretty great. But the Axoon one for your money right now is pretty good. They make the S40 and S60, just basically determining length of slider. Good little product for the money. Okay. Brandon says we'll be removing a drop-in commercial ceiling for extra headroom. Thoughts of treatment for an exposed drywall ceiling with pipes and conduit running everywhere, about 800 square feet. Well, you can use rock wool, which is an insulation material. You can use standard insulation and put that up there. I don't love that because of the fiberglass aspect, which is why I have the flame spread over my insulation in here. There is also basically, if it's going to be exposed, you can't use blown in insulation, but you can use closed cell insulation. So that means that it actually sticks to the surfaces, and I believe it expands, and then it makes it very, very quiet. The only problem with closed cell insulation, and it really is the big problem, is it's incredibly expensive. It was something I actually wanted to do in this space. Um, because this barn has 2 levels, and I'm on the first level of the barn, and I'm not taking up for the studio space the whole thing. There's equipment on the other side, but this space is about 1,800 square feet and then 1,800 square feet above. I was originally going to build this space up there, but then I realized that the cost for closed cell insulation, which was the one that made the most sense because I have a corrugated metal roof here, was going to be so cost prohibitive that it made a lot more sense to build out in this space. Now, the challenge here in this space was that there were 2 vertical columns that were supporting the second floor in this space. and I had to remove those so I could make it an open space. And I can't show it to you right now, but I have a lamb beam that's about this big, which is about 30 feet wide, which got installed in the winter when it was raining and muddy and everything else. And it was a thing. But it's amazing how you could essentially have two like 4x4 columns, vertical supports, and that is holding up the same amount of weight that a 30-foot wide lam beam, which is close to a foot wide. I'm going to say almost 2 feet high and then 30 feet wide. That's what you need to put into the space in order to support the same second floor. It's crazy stuff. Okay. So there you go. Look, real questions today. I'm excited about this. What else have we got? Are we going to get into? We haven't done this kind of like this in a while, and so it's nice when you're asking stuff that is getting us into the meat of what it is that we do. So I'm happy to talk about that stuff. I don't know if I'm going to have an answer, but I like that. Britt says, for Camera Flask, do you use the same program? I'm trying to gather information based on what I've seen of your content. I rarely use Ecamm Live for Camera Flask. Yes, for Camera Flask, for any live streaming I do is Ecamm Live. And the nice thing is that with Ecamm Live, if you're again Mac based, you can send invitations to people. They log in through their web browser, and then similar to the way you would use Zoom or Teams or something, you connect to your camera, to your audio, whatever it is that you're using, and then they can share their screen and they can do certain things. They don't have the same control that I have in Ecamm Live because I'm running the show, but they are able to do certain things. So if you've ever watched Camera Flask, where, for instance, Caleb shares his screen and he's showing you stuff, that's different than when he goes full screen. When he goes full screen, that's me. I'm basically switching to a different scene. I've created scenes for, like, for instance, here's a scene that I'm going to go to in 15 or 20 minutes. I'm going to come on. Let's go here. So this is another scene. That's going to be one of the prizes for the movie trivia thing that we're going to do. Another scene could be the Camera Flask logo. It could be a 4-up display that's supposed to have Caleb and Ben. So you basically build this out in the way you want. And I rarely use Ecamm Live for just a recording solution. I have done it in the past. And if you're, organized and you can set things up, it can get you to the finish line in terms of post a little bit sooner, but you're probably going to spend a little bit more time in pre-production to get that all set up with your different scenes and what it is that you want to cut to. And then you can use something like the Stream Deck, and you can set up Stream Deck to communicate with a program like Ecamm Live. And what I can do is, like, for instance, if I'm bringing up a PDF, I can say next page, previous page, and I can just have that be two of the buttons on the Stream Deck. I can switch between a 4-up of me, Caleb, Ben, and the Cameron Flask logo, and then I can go to singles of each of us. Or sometimes something will happen, and something will happen and somebody's connection will drop. So I'll just go to a 2-up of me and Ben, or me and Caleb, so on and so forth. Sully says, did you consider the MixPre 10.2 as a mobile recorder? Well, I have a MixPre 6.2, and I do use that as a mobile recorder. It basically now goes with me on every production. And I really went for a long time with this notion that I wanted to do everything possible to have single system sound, where I was just effectively recording directly into camera only and not dealing with a second recording. But I've changed my tune on that for a number of reasons. And the reason I've done that is because the MixPre 2 versions of these recorders have 32-bit float. So what I can do is I can feed multiple microphones, an advantage, but I can also make sure that recording, along with metadata and stuff like that, is 32-bit float. So just a lot more flexibility in post-production and a lot less stress for me, because if for some reason I bump a pot, an adjustment on there for channel 1 and it's turned all the way down or all the way up, because it's 32-bit float, it may be peaking or too low in terms of what's recorded to the camera, because I'm always feeding from the mix pre to the camera, but then I always have that recording. Memo. Next Camera Flask, I mentioned it a little bit earlier on, is going to be next Wednesday, which I believe is September 4th, a couple of days after Labor Day here in the States. I won't be celebrating Labor Day. Labor Day is almost always a Labor Day for me. I don't know what it is, but I'm always booked somehow on Labor Day. Has been that way for a long time. So on Labor Day, I am leaving here at about 7 a.m. to a location about a half an hour away, and I will be pre-lighting in the morning and then conducting interviews. I'm not going to be the interviewer, though, in that case, but I will be running 2 cameras and lighting and sound and all that fuss. And the Mix Pre 6.2 will go with me. Harrison says, my workflow is a mix pre 10, then a wireless jump to camera for sync sound for quick turn. Yep, makes sense. I just do a wired connection. So I basically have the stereo 1/8" running from the mix pre 2 to my A camera, and then B camera is set up with just scratch audio. So what I'll do is I'll just turn up the recording there so I'm getting enough levels so that I can sync to that. Any food/libations for Labor Day? Well, not on actual Labor Day, because I will be laboring and working that day. Not that type of laboring. And possibly on Sunday, there's some chat about maybe a small get together, but it's sort of, with everybody going back to school and all of that kind of stuff, I'm not sure it's going to happen. If it does happen, it will most likely be something on the smoker for me this time. Something simple. Probably do like pork, like a pork shoulder/pork butt, and just low and slow, pulled pork, coleslaw, maybe potato salad, that kind of stuff. All right. More personal question. How do you reset yourself when you're in creative burnout? What's your thing you do to refill yourself with inspiration? That's a really good question, and I don't know if I have a single answer to that. And even with the daily drop, there are days where there are just so many things going on that the thought of now coming up with an idea and shooting an episode on that can be pretty difficult. And there are times where you just want to spend time with your family. You just want to, be on a vacation. One of the ways that I've done it, which is not really a reset, Brit, is making sure that if I know that I have a project coming up or I'm going to be going on vacation, I plan for and I shoot multiple episodes of the Daily Drop, so that I know that for the days that I'm going to be on a production or I'm going to be with my family, that I don't have to think about that. And I not only shoot those episodes, I edit and I schedule them. So I'm not even thinking, oh, I have to remember by the end of the day today that I've got to get the next episode edited and or scheduled. I just get it all done ahead of time. So for instance, when I was traveling to the East Coast, I knew there was going to be a certain number of days before I could record any more daily drops. And there was also going to be this sort of other period where I was going to need to create, content because ahead of time, because I knew I was going to be spending time with my family. So what I did was I got a whole bunch of stuff done before I left, and then when I got down there, first few days I didn't need to do anything, And then I had a bunch of episodes that I shot down in Philadelphia. And I didn't know I was going to do back to back to back to back, but I did. And that was great because then it gave me another chunk of time. Um, but the burnout thing, for me is usually, I don't know why, but most of the time it sort of happens right when I'm getting that half year, trip like this one where I got to go to Chattanooga and go to a museum, and I got to, spend time with my family cooking and things like that. Um, I would say that cooking and food is sort of the reset for me. So, if I just need to unplug, it's usually, you know, going into a kitchen, turning on some music, cooking, and that sort of everything else for the most part just disappears. And for some reason, I've been able to compartmentalize that, where that's sort of the thing that is the separation between what I do, because what I do for a living, by and large, I absolutely love doing. So, I'm not always making money doing it. Sometimes I'm doing great. Sometimes I'm doing really badly. But I chose a profession, if you want to call it that, that I actually love. So I'm passionate about it. That wasn't true when I was younger. I thought I was going to go, I always thought I was going to do a combination of business and the arts, but I thought I was going to go more um, sort of the on-stage, on-camera route, which to a degree is happening now, but in a very, very different way. I do it as an educator, and it has a very different purpose. But when I started to go down that road when I was done with school, I realized that I didn't have the passion to pursue that part of the creative process that I was interested in. Whereas what I do now and what I've done for, 2+ decades, I love doing this. I love finding out more about the tech and craft of what it is that we do. And I love days where I don't have to, do something just for the sake of doing it. I can do it because I'm interested in it. And that's kind of what the daily drop kind of gives me, is it gives me a creative outlet, and it kind of forces me to continue to get better at what it is that I do, because I'm genuinely interested in that. Um, and I found, like, just passing the 1 year mark, and then, a decade and a half ago doing Gearbox, that I get markedly better at what it is that I do for a living when I'm doing this 5 days a week, the daily drop, not the live stream. And it really helps me. And I find that it's like, sharpening your knives. Like, I feel like my knives are sharp all of the time, because it's not just periods of time where I'm down for 2 or 3 weeks and then something comes up. I, by the nature of doing the daily drop, have to think about something that relates to production at least 5 days a week. And what I do is I shoot generally Monday's episode on Sunday. So I say Sunday for Monday, and then Thursday for Friday, which is the last episode of the week. So Friday is kind of my Saturday. Saturday is kind of my Sunday, and then I have to kind of reset on Sunday at some point. If I know that I have something coming up, or that I have an event or something like that, then I'm going to go ahead and create some content ahead of time. So we'll have to see for next week the setup and these interviews that I'm going to do. Um, More than likely, one of the episodes will be from the location, and uh, I'll just have to make sure that I have an episode ready for Monday. Monday, I'll shoot on location for Tuesday. And then I'll have to decide, is there something in that space or what I'm doing production wise that's worthy of another episode there? Is there something that I'm using in terms of kit that I want to talk about? Um, you know, there you go. I don't have my headset mic on, though, Brandon, so it's not totally Tony Robbins. I'm Tony Robbins with one B. Ridiculous. All right. So, any other questions? Those are all great questions, I think, at least. I'm kind of looking at my setup here. We are at two. I can't wait for my new glasses to show up. I'm kind of on old backup glasses right now. My glasses were, well, they became toast, and so I just bought new frames. Dropped them off at the doctor today to get new lenses made for those. All right. Using nets behind talent next week. No, I'm not actually. I went and scouted a few days ago. I guess it was on, was it Friday? I have no idea. No, what's today? Wednesday. Monday morning I scouted. And we went and looked at the only space that was available for this particular shoot, and two directions, one facing sort of a bay window, and then another one facing just to the left of that, a fireplace. The problem is that that space was just recently vacated. It will be occupied in the future, and it's a housing at a school, and so it's a house. And facing the windows, we don't want to have the actual valley there. It's just not what the ask is. We've done enough of that for this particular project. So we're actually going to use the blinds, dress up the little bay window with some throw pillows, and there'll be some furniture put in there. The reason we're not going to shoot into the fireplace is that above the mantle, it needs work. There's some holes that need to get filled in. It needs to be repainted, and it's just going to show up on camera too much. So we're going to go for the other. I kind of would prefer the fireplace, but that's a location we may use for the next part of this project, which would be in about 3 or 4 weeks after that. And I'm not going to be there for that, so I'll probably pre-light it and then have the marketing department at that school handle shooting that. Might simplify it and go one camera as opposed to two, and do some things that are just going to help with that. But I'll be out of town, and I will lend them some of my equipment. So yeah, there you go. But if I was going to shoot with that window in frame, I probably would put a double net. The only problem is that the 8x8, which is the size that I would really need to use, the one from Cine Gear Factory, if you've watched the last couple of days of episodes, does have a seam. It's supposed to be seamless, but there is definitely a seam there. So I'm going to have to solve this problem somehow. Again, I might have to just bite the bullet and buy the 8x8 from FJ Westcott or from Modern Studio Equipment or somebody like that. But we'll see how that all goes. All right. Any other questions that we have? How do you decide focal depth range when scouting? Orbit brings a stills cam and lens set. Curious your method. I do sometimes just bring a mirrorless camera, and something like because I'm generally shooting on an APS-C, super 35 millimeter camera system. Grabbing a camera like the FX30, which is there with the 18-50. I could take the A7C II, which is a full frame, but you can put it into super 35 and put a zoom lens on that. That can be advantageous. That's a great way to scout. And then also just bringing with you, sometimes it's a good idea to bring like a little wireless lav system or something, or a little on-camera mic, so you can kind of roll on that and listen to the location before you look at the location. But I'll usually use is a Cadrage, I think you say is how you pronounce it, an app, which is basically a director's viewfinder. Because what I really want to see is, I have a pretty good idea now spatially. If I'm in a space and I have a certain distance, I'm on a large sensor camera. Most of my interviews, I'm shooting at a 2.8. I'm trying to get to that sort of 2.8, 800 ISO formula. I don't always do that, but very oftentimes. Sometimes I'll go, a stop or so deeper. I might go to a 4 or 5.6 if there's a lot of depth, and then I don't have to worry about it. So, yeah, if there's a big valley and there's a lot of distance between the subject matter and the background and what you're seeing, I'll tend to, as long as I have enough light on the subject, stop down a little bit because it's even more forgiving. Now, it's only been in the last couple of years or so that I feel like we've crossed over into this space where we have very, very reliable autofocus in our camera systems, and that's very true right now with Sony. And it seems like the next iteration of what we're going to be getting from Canon, the dual pixel CMOS, 2, which is going to be in the C400 and stuff. We're going to really start to see that as well. And it's not like the the R5C is a slouch in terms of AF in video, but Sony just sort of has that. Ben McKnight, what's up? I have a manual doozy slider and an electric Zeopon. I think the Zeopons are great. That's actually probably, it's over there, my favorite manual slider is Zeopon. It's just so smooth. Both are great, but big and slow. Is there any way to do the same parallax move on a gimbal? And then the last question in that is, are you sure? I don't know what I'm sure about. On a gimbal, it's very hard to do repeatedly. People will put a gimbal onto a slider. That's a hard one. That's why I'm hoping that they come out with that new iFootage Nano 2. Yeah. All right. GWiz 5150. Any suggestions for quick? I always think about I don't know why. Well, all right. Any suggestions for quick slow motion replay for one man band sport streaming? Replay using a YOLO Box Pro at the moment, but not happy with their replay quality. I do not have a good answer for you on that. Replay playback is not something that I do really at all. It's something that Video Assist is part of, mid to large size productions, but not really something, when we're doing playback, it's just literally going back into the camera and doing a playback. So I don't have a good answer. I apologize. Ben says, I know it's hard right now. Are you referring to do the same parallax move on a gimbal? I'm still trying to clarify the "are you sure" question. Let me know on that one, Ben. Brandon says, I notice most docs are shot with super deep depth of field. Is that on purpose for lack of autofocus? Not totally. It really is a preference to the director and then the cinematographer that's working on it. And I wouldn't say that's totally true. It does require certain types of camera operators, though, to do it. And a lot of the docs that I've seen are definitely shooting with a shallower depth of field. Shallower isn't always better. If obviously we're not talking about, well, if you watch certain types of content, you'll see that like Spielberg doesn't shoot wide open all the time in his films. Now, there's definitely times, especially when you get into close-ups and stuff, that you're going much shallower depth of field. But with production design and the way those things are, Citizen Kane, I mean, that's like the ultimate example of deep depth of field. But in both of those examples, the sets, the locations, they're designed with purpose. So it's not like documentary where you might pan the camera and you don't know what you're going to see as the background, the foreground, the middle ground for your frame. So, when you're shooting a feature film and everything is designed with purpose, you have a lot more leeway to say, we really want to shoot this very shallow or we want to shoot this deep in terms of our depth of field. Well, are you sure? Because it seems simple until you try it. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not thinking it's simple. I mean, did I say that you could do the same move with a gimbal? I don't think. Maybe you misunderstood, Ben. I was talking about the Axoon slider, and the Axoon slider has a manual parallax feature, similar to the parallax feature that used to be, still can be bought with the Kessler slider. So you would basically set that manually, and then when you move from left to right, right to left, it would parallax and essentially take your head and move it. So I don't think it's easy, and I don't think there's a straightforward solution for that repeatability. You really have to get onto a slider like the Arca. Is it the Arca? I think it's the Arca. Rhino. Um, like the Rhino 2 slider that has sliding and panning capabilities, the little slider, and I mean motorized. And there's some other, like Zeopon has a motorized solution, but by the time you start building it out, it gets a little clunky. I wasn't really drawn to that at all. Uh, my docks are deeper than I want, but that's because my main lens is f4. Understood. Darnell. Hey, Darnell. How are you? In regards to Steadicam access, can you use HDMI only camera or is SDI a requirement, as I only see SDI ports on the device? That's a great question. That's not something I've looked into. I mean, you can obviously use an adapter to go SDI to HDMI, and they can be quite small and not add a lot of weight to the rig. I'd have to look into that. It wasn't something I was really focusing on. It's definitely SDI centric in terms of the setup. I just have to look at those ports one more time. Are you 100% sure there's no HDMI ports? Which there may not be, but that's a great question that I don't know the full answer to right now. Yeah, maybe a little converter, but maybe they do have HDMI, but it's probably SDI only. All right, Pat. Oh, that's you going back and forth, Ben. Okay, good. Some chat going between everybody. You underestimated my powers. It's not easy. Yeah, it's the pano bar. It's really that's their parallax bar, and what the Axoon sliders have is they basically have a motorized left to right, right to left slide, but they don't have a motorized pan head as part of their system. So yeah, it depends on the adapter you use, Darnell, in terms of latency. There are some that are very fast in terms of adapting that signal. I don't think it would be considerable. Yeah, I know I'm past the halfway point, David. I'm tracking here. What's up, Scott? Yeah. David wants his prize. David's won 2 prizes recently, and I don't know. I think he's got like every. And now I'm getting really suspicious. I think David has like every movie trivia question there is. He's got multiple monitors with the curved screens and everything. It's like a Fincher movie, but he's got all the trivia stuff. So he just thinks it, and then the answer comes in. I don't know. GWiz 5150. The few docs that I've worked on, the quote unquote subject in the location is always a point of decision for the directors who want the audience to see the subject reacting to the location. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Brandon, again, maybe an inappropriate comment. I know you don't mean it the way it sounds, but there you go. But Scott does make these amazing smoke peppers and smoked, like black pepper and smoked salt that are really good for barbecuing and stuff. I like Dave is still in denial. All right, let's go, kids. We got 3:49 p.m. Pacific, so it's time for our challenge here. Okay, now here's the way it's going to go down. I'm going to ask a trivia question, and there's going to be a prize associated with that. I'm going to do a 10-second countdown. This is an honor system situation here, okay? Hopefully this builds over time. Maybe I'll even get an official countdown clock or some crap like that. We're not even in the 20s in terms of people here. We got to tell your friends. Come on, let's build this channel up a little bit more. This is ridiculous. All right. So I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to say 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You've got to type in your answer. The first right answer that shows up in the chat for comments and reactions is going to be the winner of that prize. Then you're going to have to email to challenge@thec47.com to do that. Yeah. All right. Hope my server reacts fast enough. Xavier, I don't know if I can answer that right now. Wireless systems, there's so many on the market now from different companies. You know, you've got Hollyland, Axoon, of course you have the Teradek stuff, and there's so many that it's just getting crazy. And it there are some very inexpensive HDMI based solutions for cameras like the FX3 and the A7 IV. Let's wait until IBC, see if anything else gets announced and released in the next couple of weeks, and then maybe we can have that conversation. I do use wireless, but my system's an older Teradek system, and it's definitely been some stuff that's happened recently. All right, here we go. So first question. Well, let's talk about the prize first. You're just going to hear my voice now. That's the right answer, David. Fargo. There you go. Wood chipper. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Twister. There you go. All right, here we go. So the first prize, this is the fourth prize that's being given away. This is basically a Mayfair super clamp with a grip head attached. It can be, stop it, Brandon. It can be very, very useful in terms of production. And it's a nice piece of kit because you can really clamp onto virtually anything. And then you get a grip head. You couple that with like a 20 or 40-inch Hollywood arm that you would have from a C-stand. And, you can do some damage. I think you guys are smart enough to figure out how to use it. Willy Wonka, the original from 71, one of my favorite movies of all time. All right, let's see. What's going to be the first question? I'm going to go, stop it. You guys are ridiculous. Let's do this one. We're going to do, okay, you ready? Everybody ready? First animated feature to be nominated for Best Picture. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes is not the right answer. We're almost done here. We might have to go on to another question. Do we have an answer? People are Googling now. Oh my God. Snow White, Toy Story, Godzilla, Toy Story. Wrong. There is not a right answer here. I think we have Micah. I'm going to let you. Oh, wait. It's Darnell. Sorry. Two came back to back. One was posted first. Darnell Chapman Jr., Beauty and the Beast is the correct answer. Micah, you were so close. I'm honor system here. So Darnell Chapman Jr., I want you to email challenge@thec47.com. I need your name, your address, your phone number. You have to be a U.S. resident. David's still answering. It's crazy. Fantasia's such a great movie, too. All right. Well done, Darnell. You're in the mix here, and it's not the same cast of characters, though I can't promise that for the next challenges. Your chat shows Micah first. That's so weird. It comes through as Darnell for me. Is this where the discrepancy for Ecamm Live comes in? Okay, well, I'm holding it for this one. We may have to come up with a better system here, but I'm sticking to it because that was the one. Oh, God. Okay. You know what? Screw it. I think we're within the realm of what's allowed. Micah, and I'm not going to do this again today. I'm telling you right now, but you both win one of those. Okay. So courtesy of B&H, you're both going to get one of those. So Micah, send me an email to challenge@thec47.com. All right. I'm being kind here. So there you go. And Darnell says it shows him as the first. All right, you brilliant. Okay, here we go. Ready for the next one? Uh, answer right, and or the first prize goes to the next person. If by any chance or miracle I answer right, or first goes to the next person, because I don't know what that, I'm not tracking on that. Okay, very funny. Oh God, here we go. You both won. All right, here's the next one. Next prize is going to be a 7-foot parabolic umbrella. Very handy. A lot of lights have an umbrella mount, and you bounce this, and it's a really nice key source. Gives a lot of ambient light. You know, it's a nice piece of kit. Oh, gotcha, David. I'm tracking with you. Sorry. I wish you could win here. Okay. Here's the second question. And the countdown begins, and it's whatever shows up in my chat the first time here. First sports film to win Best Picture Academy Award. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Seems like about a 10-second delay. I should be seeing Arrival. Oh, bunch of clowns. Feel like you guys are like my son over here. College dude. That is not a sports film. Still waiting for a correct answer. I feel like we're in Google territory here. You should not be Googling this. This is an honor system here. All of these answers are wrong. I will tell you that this is one of my top favorite films of all time. It is definitely, for me, in the top 3. Love Chariots of Fire. That's not the correct answer. You guys are in the wrong decade, kids. You are in the wrong decades right now, and it is just a mess. This is honor system here. Let's go. Come on. Okay. We're going Simpsons. All right. We're going on to the next question then. For this prize, and then they get a flurry of correct answers. Gee Whiz 5150, promise on your life, as my son says, just a family member that you did not Google that. Gee Whiz 5150. Rocky, promise on your life. Come on. I'm asking Gee Whiz. Get in there. Keystroking here. Let's go. Yes or no? Come on. All right. Well, that is in fact the correct answer. I'm waiting for a confirmation on Rocky. Rocky Balboa, I think, was actually a much, much, much later film. I mean, obviously that's the character's name. Well, you were joking, but you were right. So Gee Whiz 5150 challenge at the C47.com. You're getting that 7-foot umbrella. Okay? Got to do that. Take your aspirin. Why are you saying take your aspirin? I'm doing fine here. What is happening here, Brandon? Oh, you're in Australia. All right. We're going to do another question here for the 7-foot umbrella. The original actor that played Marty McFly in Back to the Future. The original actor. And they even shot scenes, and he was going to be the actor before he was replaced with, you know who, Michael J. Fox. Okay? So, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, stop Googling, 3, 2, I'm going to need a drink after this, 1, let's go. Come on. We're at that 10-second mark. I should probably do like a 15 seconds. Good you have, yeah, there you go. Micah, oh my God. Are you allowed to win twice? This time you are. I'm going to have to set a precedent. You can't win more than twice today, but you can today. So Micah, you win the umbrella as well. And there you go. But no more answering today. It is, in fact, Eric Stoltz. So, great actor. And a lot of other good movies, too. All right. Jeez, enough, David. It's getting weird here. Okay, next prize. John Wayne. Okay, there we go. Ready for the next one? Sorry, David. We're at 4 o'clock, but there you go. You better be being honest, Micah. I think you are. I will answer in my head. But send the email and make sure in the email you mention what you won. So, you got to put in, Darnell, you're just going to put in the grip head, and the umbrella. All right, here we go. This is the next prize. This is not bad. 6 filled sandbags from Impact. So, there we go. This is the next prize. I have to decide. I think I'm gonna do a little bit of yeah. Okay, I got to take away some of these questions because then I might use some of these for future ones. So we have those gone. All right, I've got 4 more questions here, but only 2 more prizes. So we got some sandbags here worth about $120 US. Here we go. Everybody ready? On your marks, get set, go. What year does the original Blade Runner film take place? The original Blade Runner film. Countdown begins. Honor system. Do not Google this if you don't know the answer. It's on your conscience. Okay? You have to live with this. And so I need the first correct answer. Obviously, we're looking for a year here for these sandbags. Brandon, 2005. You're close, but not. I would say that's warm in terms of an answer. And now we got 20. Now we're all over the place. We may not have an answer for this one. We may not have an answer for this. It's when does it take place? Not year that it came out, which was in fact 81, I believe, but the year. And these are questions that I knew the answers to. Though when I saw the year, I remembered. But yes, 400 BC. No, other things were happening during that time, Chris. I don't know. I don't think we're going to get an answer to this one. It's all over the place. All right. Maybe we'll revisit that one another time, like a year or 2 from now. But 2049, that's the other movie. We know that. All right. That one gets nixed. There we go. Next question for the second prize of this movie trivia. Enough with the answers, you guys. Is done. We're over with this. The years are all over the place. All right. I only have 3 more questions. So this one is going to be first feature film to use profanity. And if you know the film, you can just name it. If you know what the line is on top of it, you get extra credit, not an extra prize. Okay. It's an old film. I'll give you that hint. And the only other thing I could tell you is, though maybe you already know the answer to this, is that it is a very old film, and it is maybe one of, if yes, Jeremy, you win. Done. Do you know the line? It means nothing in today's world. Isn't it one of the first color films too? It's definitely one of the earliest. I think it's 1933. Is it 30 or 33? It's getting Carol Burnett is not the name of a movie, Sully. Okay. Wait, who's first? Oh God, what is happening here? Okay, I'm gonna let the I have the same answer from Pat McAbery and from Jeremy McDermott. I need to know from the jury here who showed up first on the YouTubes. Be honest, everybody. Be honest. Okay? Hello? Pat was first. Jeremy, you're so honest. You get points for that. That alone is big points. Okay, so Pat, you win. And you're getting some sandbags coming from the East Coast, from 34th Street and 9th Avenue. So there you go. All right. All right, kids. So that's kind of weird with the system, because that's the second time that, okay, so we're learning. Maybe when we do this in the future, actually, Pat does show up first on mine. Maybe earlier on, something I don't want to know. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So there's that one. And then we have a final prize for today. And I have to decide which question I'm going to ask. I think I know which one. Kind of tied in with the Eric Stoltz thing. So this background kit here, it's kind of a stormy gray, which is very versatile for production. If you like in a space and you just can't do anything with it, throwing this up, 6 to 10 feet away from talent, could be something advantageous. So this is, Pat, don't use that language on this live stream. The word damn, unbelievable. Okay. There you go. Look, there'll be more of these. Give Jeremy some dirt. I can't. There's a limit here with B&H. They are very generous every month. They will, within certain brands that they sell, they will offer up to $500 worth of prizes. And I love that. That means every year, at least hopefully every year, I get to give away up to $6,000 worth of stuff to you guys. And it doesn't cost anybody except for B&H something, but it's very, very kind of them. So there you go. All right. So Pat, send me your info. I have it, but just send it. It's a lot easier to challenge at the C47.com. Here's this background kit here. It's getting some good stars, and it's about $160 US. It's got stands and a crossbar, and it's got fabric, and that's what we got here. So you guys ready for the last one? Here we go. Are we ready? And the reason I said we're going to tie this in with Eric Stoltz will make sense. Last prize. Here we go. Brandon, you're not out of this yet. You could still answer this question. Okay. What does the character Mia, played by Uma Thurman in the movie Pulp Fiction, mistakenly snort and overdose on? There we go. This is the final prize. What does the character Mia, played by Uma Thurman, mistakenly snort and overdose on in the movie Pulp Fiction? Notice the Eric Stoltz tie-in there, right? I think if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. We're looking for a drug here, guys. And this would be the first prize winner. Honor system. Stop Googling. Stop doing any of that kind of stuff. And there it is. Okay. I've got 3 correct answers. And stop answering. I don't think fentanyl was a thing back then. Maybe it was. I've got a lot of correct answers, including some from outside of the country. The one that shows up for me first is Dylan, then Jeremy. Can somebody tell me in the YouTubes, Jessica, I'm leaning on you here, was the answer correctly answered by Dylan first or Jeremy? And Jeremy, so honest. You're coming back. We're doing more of these in the future for sure. But I need to know. There we go. But it made for a good movie, right, Pat? But I hear you on the treatment. Dylan first. That's what it shows up. See, I'm now really questioning the double prize earlier on that happened, because I'm seeing it correctly here in this feed. So I don't know about this. I'm letting it go. I'm just saying. But Dylan, you win. So this is your prize. And again, what I need you to do is I need you to email me at all of the winners today with the prize that they won. Just a general idea. It's not that many prizes. Challenge at thec47.com. Send that to me today. I will send off an email to B&H, and they will basically package up and send out your prizes. These are the August prizes. I needed to figure out a way to do something in August. This was really fun. Well, it was fun for me. I don't know if you enjoyed it. Do you like doing this kind of thing where we do a trivia thing every once in a while and we give away prizes? Are we into this? Does this seem like something worthwhile? And you can't do something like not tell people about the channel because it increases your chances of winning. That's bologna sandwich, okay? All right. Yes. There we go. We did something. We got some questions answered. We had a little trivia contest. I apparently need to take some aspirin, but that's not what's going to happen. I'm going to pull that card from that camera. I'm going to edit this short episode because today's was just long. It was over 17 minutes long. By the way, if you watched the episode today, I did get the second 8x8 nets from Cine Gear Factory, and they do in fact have the elastic in the corners, but they're still not seamless. Can I get the email one more time? Challenge at thec47.com, as Brandon has posted there. Later's memo, enjoy Mexico City, and it's definitely cooler there than it is in Phoenix. You wouldn't think so, but it is generally. Very enjoyable. Yeah, I like doing this. So maybe we do this again. Maybe it's more fun to do this. I still think we need to do creative challenges, but it's kind of fun. 32 people in here. Boom, fireworks. See what happens on the replays. Micah, it's not a dead deal right now, but the fact that that seam is about 2 feet in, if you wanted to use the whole thing, it's a little tricky, right? I can see it being used for like a medium shot like this, you'd be okay. But as soon as you wanted to get into something a little bit wider from the waist up or something, I think you're going to have some issues. Yeah. All right. I have emails into Cine Gear Factory with a lot of information. They did tell me originally that the 8x8 was seamless. If I can get that 8x8 with the elastic corners and also it being truly seamless in that 8x8, I can't really expect that in a 12x12 or a 20x20. That's going to be hard. But if I can get an 8x8 seamless, for effectively, $45, though you can buy just that double net for $70 by itself on their website. But for some reason, the B&H one is giving you a double white net, double black net for $90. I don't know. Does that make sense? I think it does. Everybody, thank you so much for supporting the channel, for your engagement. I'm a little bit behind on some of the answers to the comments. A lot of that has to do with the traveling and sort of catching up. But again, a lot of fun doing this one. Back next week, 3 p.m. Pacific time with Camera Flask, with Caleb Pike, Ben Barden, and myself. We have ideas that we might do another challenge. It may not be a prize-based challenge, but we like doing those on Camera Flask as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do the things that you do, and we'll continue from here. And glad you showed up, Pat. Good to have you. All the best, everybody. Thanks again.